Welcome back to On the Same Page. We are on Daf Yud Beis Amud Beis 12b of Maseches Megillah. Very bottom of the page, second to last line, where it says Rava Amar. The Gemara is discussing the apparent contradiction in the psukim, in the verses of the Megillah, attributing Mordechai to both the tribe of Yehuda and the tribe of Binyamin. It calls him Ish Yehudi, implying he was from Yehuda, and it calls him Ish Yemini, implying he was from the tribe of Binyamin. So the last approach that the Gemara took was that certainly he was from Binyamin, but the people of Yehuda tried to take credit for him, because they said the only reason why Mordechai was born was because David HaMelech didn't kill Shimi ben Gera, and as a result, from Shimi's offspring came Mordechai. So in a certain sense, Yehuda took credit for Mordechai because David was from David HaMelech, King David was from Yehuda, so they took credit. While Binyamin said, but he's from us, so we get credit. Says the Gemara, Rava said, Knesset Yisrael Amra L'idach Yisa, that the Jewish people as a whole took an opposite perspective, that they weren't looking for credit, meaning rather they attributed Mordechai to both Binyamin and Yehuda in blaming them for causing all their problems. Says the Gemara, Re'u ma'asa li Yehudi, u'mashilen li Yemini. They said, look what this Yehudi has done, what this person from Yehuda has done, and what we have been repaid for from the people of Binyamin. Who were they referring to? Not to Mordechai himself, although it relates to him, but they were saying, says the Gemara, ma'asa li Yehudi, look what this Judean, this person from Yehuda did to me, meaning David HaMelech, de lo katle David l'Shimi, that he didn't kill Shimi ben Gera, dis yalad minei Mordechai, and as a result Mordechai was born, de mikni be Haman, who made Haman jealous or upset, meaning they blamed their problems on Mordechai. Why did Haman decide to destroy the Jewish people? So the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, was when Mordechai wouldn't bow to him. So that's what got him all upset. So they said, Mordechai, this is all your fault. So whose fault is it really? It's really David HaMelech's fault. It's the people of Yehuda's fault because they spared Shimon ben Gera, which caused Mordechai to be born. So they laid the blame for their problems at the feet of David HaMelech. But furthermore, Umashilem li Yamini, and also what did the Benjamite, the person from Binyamin, repay me? Dilokat li Shaul Agag, that Shaul HaMelech didn't kill Agag, the king of Amalek, Disyalid minei Haman, and as a result Haman was born. Dimitzar Yisrael was causing all these problems. So someone from Binyamin also is the source of our problems. The only reason why Haman was born was because Shaul initially spared Agag, and that's how Shaul was. That's how Haman was able to be born, and so they were, rather than wanting to take credit for being from Yehuda, Yehuda taking credit for producing Mordechai, the rest of the Jewish people were laying blame at Yehuda for producing Mordechai, and also laying blame at Binyamin for producing Haman, because Shaul, who was from Binyamin, didn't kill Agag, eventually leading to the birth of Haman. Okay. And it seems that Rava wants to read that into the Psukim, that there's at least it's hinted to in the Psukim, by calling Mordechai both an Ish Yehudi and an Ish Yemini. It's saying that, it's referencing, it's hinting to, not that Mordechai was an Ish Yemini, he was from Binyamin, but they're at the same time identifying kind of, I guess, the source of all their problems. Okay. Rabbi Yochanan Amar. Rabbi Yochanan says, Le'olam Binyamin Kasi. No, really, Mordechai was a descendant of Binyamin. Ve'amai kari le Yehudi. So why is he called a Yehudi? Al shum shekafar ba'avodah zara. Because he rejected avodah zara. He rejected idols. Shekla kofar ba'avodah zara nikra Yehudi. Because anybody who rejects idols is called a Yehudi, as the Gemara is about to bring. where did Mordechai reject idols? I suppose this means that he wouldn't bow to Haman. Haman made himself an idol. Mordechai wouldn't bow. So therefore Mordechai gets the shame, the name of Yehudi, because anyone who rejects idols is called Yehudi. K'dichsiv, as the pasuk says, Isi guvrim Yehudayin v'gomer. So in Sefer Daniel, where when Nebuchadnezzar erects this idol and says everybody has to bow to it, so the pasuk says there were certain Jews who wouldn't bow to it. In the pasuk in Daniel, it refers to them as Shadrach, Meshach, and Aved Nego. We refer to them as Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. And they would not bow to Nebuchadnezzar's idol. And it says they are Guvrin Yehudayin. They are Yehudins. Tosfos explains that in the Gemara in Sanhedrin it says they weren't actually from the tribe of Yehuda. So why are they being called Yehudayin? The answer is because they rejected the Avodah Zarah. That's where you see that those who reject Avodah Zarah are called Yehudim. Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, ki hava pasach b'divrei hayamim. So now kind of tangentially related to this, someone who rejects Avodah Zarah is called a Yehudi. So it says that Rabbi Shimon ben Pazi, when he would speak about Divrei Hayamim, the book of Chronicles, Amar Hachi, he would say the following, Kol dvarecha echad heim, v'anu yodim l'darshan, that sometimes all your words are really one, and we know how to explain it, extrapolate it. So, in other words, as we're about to see, the pasuk is going to list a bunch of names. We know it's all referring to one person, and in this case, all referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. So what is this about? So it's talking about, in context, it's talking about Kalev, and it says that his wife, the Ishto ha-Yehudia, it says his wife, the Yehudia, so calls her a Yehudi, Yalda es Yered Avi Gedor, gave birth to Yered, the father of Gedor, bes Chever Avi Socho, Chever, the father of Socho, bes Yekusiel Avi Zanoach, and Yekusiel, the father of Zanoach. And then it says, Ve'ele b'nei Bisya bas Paro, asher lokach Mered. These were the children of Bisya, the daughter of Paro, who Mered took as a wife. So, a lot of difficulties going on in this pasuk. So, it's talking about Kalev. It says his wife was the Yehudia, who gave birth to all these people. And these people were the children of Bisya bas Paro. So seemingly the wife being referred to is Bisya, or Basya, the daughter of Paro, that Mered took as a wife, but we're talking about Kalev's wife. So all these things have to be worked out. So first of all, Amai Kari La Yehudia. Why does it call her Yehudia? Ashum Shekafra Avodah Zarah. So here's how it relates, because she rejected Avodah Zarah. The daughter of Paro, Basya, rejecting Avodah Zarah, rejecting idolatry. D'chsiv, as the pasuk says, Vatered bas Paro l'rchotz ala ya'ar, that Baspara went down to wash herself by the river. This is when she finds Moshe Rabbeinu in the basket. Rabbi Yochanan explains she yarda lirchot migilule beis avia, that she had gone to immerse herself from the tumah, from the impurity, the defilement of the idols of her father's house. So she was going down to go to the mikvah, basically to immerse herself, to wash herself off the tumah of Avodah Zarah off of herself. So that's why she's called Yehudia, because she rejected Avodah Zarah. Now, ask the Gemara. So the Gemara, in a few lines, is going to explain that all these children of hers are all just names for Moshe Rabbeinu, because Moshe Rabbeinu was the only child that we know that she was associated with. But first, it asks that what does it mean, Yalda? What does it mean that she gave birth to him? If it's referring to Moshe, that then why does it say? How could it say? Yalda es Yared Avi Gedor es Chaver, that she gave birth to all these people whose one person was Moshe. She didn't give birth to him. She raised him, but she didn't give birth to him. So Lomar Lecha, says the Gemara, it's to teach you Shekol HaMegadol Yasam V'Yasam B'Sof Beso, that anybody who raises an orphan a boy orphan or a girl orphan in their house, that the Torah considers it as if he gave birth to him. So the Torah describes the relationship of Bastia and Moshe as if she gave birth to him because she raised him. Okay, now all these names the Gemara is going to explain are all names for Moshe. Yared, Zeh Moshe. Yared refers to Moshe. V'lama nikra shmo Yared. Why does it call him Yared? She Yarad lem Yisrael man biyamav. Because he caused man, Yared means to come down, he caused man to come down on behalf of the Jewish people. The Gra has a different gear, so he says that's not the correct version. Rather, it's Shahori Torah Yisrael. He brought the Torah down to the Jewish people. Okay. Gador, why was he called? It says Avi Gador, the father of Gador. We'll get to Avi soon, but why is he called Gador? Shegadar pirtosein shel Yisrael. Gador means to fence. He put fences in the breaches of the Jewish people, which is an expression for when they were erring, where they were sinning and making mistakes. He closed those breaches. Then he was called Chever. Why was he called Chever? Shechibras Yisrael Avinu Shebeshleim. That means to attach. He attached the Jewish people to their Father in heaven. Socho. Why was he called Socho? Shenasalem Yisrael Kisukkah. Because he acted like a sukkah to the Jewish people, of protection for the Jewish people. I think the simple understanding is that in his merit they were protected, or he was able to teach them so that they would be meritorious, that they'll be protected. I wonder also if you could say that we know that the Anania Kavod, the clouds of glory, were in the merit of Aaron HaKohen, but after Aaron died, they came back in the merit of Moshe Rabbeinu. So we know that the clouds of glory relate to a sukkah. So the sukkah commemorates the clouds of glory, the Anania Kavod. So maybe that's what it means. He was like a sukkah to them, and that he, in his merit, at least later in his life, came the clouds of glory. Maybe. Okay. Yekusiel. He was called Yekusiel. Shekavu Yisrael Lakel Biyamav. So Yeku, it was like Yekavet, to hope for. Shekavu, they hoped. They put their hopes in God, in Kel, in his days. Zanuach. He was called Zanuach. Shehizniach Avonosein Shel Yisrael. That he got rid of the sins of the Jewish people. Okay, now it says also Avi, Avi, Avi. 3 times it says he was the father of the father of the father of. So what is that hinting to? That he was an Av b'Torah. He was a father in Torah, meaning a leader in Torah. Av b'Chachma, a leader in wisdom. Av b'Nevius, and a father, a leader in prophecy. And then it says Ve'ele b'nei Bisya asher lokach Mered. And these were the sons of Bisya who Mered took as a wife. V'chi Mered Shmo? What do you mean that Mered took as a wife? V'alo Kalev Shmo. His name was Kalev. We're talking about Kalev's wife. So why are we calling him Mered? So Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu, so what we're teaching is Hashem said, Yavo Kalev Shemara B'atzas Miraglim, let Kalev, who rebelled against the counsel of the Miraglim, of the spies. So amongst the 12 spies were Yehoshua and Kalev. Yehoshua and Kalev rejected the plan and the Lashon Hara that the spies spoke about the land of Israel. So he rebelled against that. That's why he's called Mered. And V'yisa is Bas Paro Shemarda B'Giulei Beis Avia. And it's fitting that he should marry the daughter of Parosh, because she also rebelled. She rebelled against her father, against the idols of her father's household. Okay, so that's all tangential, because we were talking about how Yehudi connotes somebody who rejects Avodah Zarah, and that's why Bastia was called Yehudiya, because she rejected Avodah Zarah. Okay, back to the Megillah. So it describes Mordechai. We were describing Mordechai and his lineage, and then it says, Asher Hagla Yerushalayim. He was exiled from Yerushalayim. The actual pasuk says, asher hagla Yerushalayim, who was exiled from Yerushalayim, im hagolah asher haglasa im Yechanya melech Yehuda, along with the exile that was exiled with Yechanya, the king of Yehuda. And then the end of the pasuk says that who was exiled by Nebuchadnezzar. So we spoke about Yechanya, right? That Yechanya was put in place by Nebuchadnezzar originally to he's also called Yehoiachin. Yehoiachin, I think, and Yechanya are the same. That he was put in place after the rebellion of Yehoiakim, and then Nebuchadnezzar changed his mind after a couple months and exiled Yehoiachin, and took him to Bavel, where he was imprisoned for many years. 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So what we're saying is, so the Megillah is saying that Mordechai was part of that original exile when Yehoiachin or Yechanya was exiled, and Mordechai was exiled from Yerushalayim as well. Now, Amar Rava says though Shegala Me'atzmo. The word Hegula implies not that they exiled him, but he exiled himself. He joined the exile. He recognized that he would be needed in Bavel, because there were people being exiled along with the king Yehoiachin. He realized they would need him, so he joined them. He chose to leave Eretz Yisrael in order to be a leader for the people who went into exile at that time. Okay, then it says, Vayhi omenes Hadassah. He was caring for Hadassah, and the pasuk continues, and it says, He Esther bastodo. She was Esther, the daughter of his cousin. So, the daughter of his uncle. The daughter of his uncle. But it says he took care of Hadassah, who is Esther. So, was she Hadassah? Was she Esther? Kari la Hadassah, but Kari la Esther. Sometimes she's called Hadassah, sometimes she's called Esther. Why both names? So Tanya, we learn a brisa. Rabbi Meir Omer, Esther Shma. Her real name was Esther. Rabbi Meir says her real name was Esther. V'lama nikra Shma Hadassah. So why is she called Hadassah? Hadassah means a myrtle branch. Al Shem HaTzadikim shenikru Hadassim. Because tzadikim, the righteous, are called Hadassim, are called myrtles. V'cheinu Omer, as it says, V'hu Omed Ben HaHadassim, referring to the Shechina, the Hashem's presence stands amongst the Hadassim. There's a pasuk in Zechariah, and there the Hadassim, the myrtles, refers to the righteous. So because she was righteous and the righteous are called Hadassim, it calls her Hadassah, but her real name was Esther. That's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda Omer Hadassah Shema. Rabbi Yehuda says, no, her real name was Hadassah. V'lama nikre Shema Esther. So why is she called Esther? Al Shem Shahaisa Masteres Divareha. Because she hid her matters, her words. So Esther, from the word to hide, so she was able to hide her nation. Really, Shneimar, as it says in the Megillah, Ein Esther Magedes Esamav Vesmolata. That Esther would not reveal her nation and her who she was born from, and therefore she's called Esther because she kept that hidden. Rabbi Nechemya Omer Hadassah Shema. Rabbi Nechemya also says her real name was Hadassah. V'lama nikres Esther. So why do they call her Esther? Shahayu umasalam korin osa ashum astaher. Because the nations of the world, the other nations called her, really, I guess, Hadassah was her Jewish name, and she was called Esther because the nations called her Esther or Astahar, which is a star, I think. Probably the word star comes from there too. A certain star or planet that that in a Persian, that's the Persian name for it. So yeah. So Rashish is like a moon. A Yerach Yafa Kalvana. Okay, it means a planet or something. So So that she was named for this in Persian for this planet. Ben Azai Omer, Ben Azai says that also he says her name was Esther, but she was called Hadassah because lo arucha velo ktsara haisa elbein. It's because she wasn't tall and she wasn't short, she was average. Hadassah, like a Hadassah myrtle branch is of average height. It's not a tall branch, it's not a short branch. That's why she was called Hadassah, because of her average height. Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha Amar, Rabbi Yeshua ben Karcha says, I think also agreeing that her name was really Esther, but she was called Hadassah because Esther Yirak Rokes Haisa, because she had a green complexion, which is not so beautiful. V'chut shel chesed mashuch aleh, but yet a string of chesed, of kindness, was extended to her, meaning that Hashem made her look, even though she didn't have the best looks, Hashem made her beautiful in the eyes of Achashverosh and others, and that was part of the miracle, but she really was of this greenish complexion, and that's why she was called Hadassah. Okay, now it says that Mordechai took care of her, ki ein la avaim, because she didn't have a father and a mother, uvemosav yavima, and when her father and mother died, Mordechai took her as a daughter. So, Lamali, why does he have to say both things? That she didn't have a father and mother, and when her father and mother died. It could have just said, it could have left out she didn't have a father and mother. Just say that when her father and mother died, Mordechai took her as a wife, and I will figure out that she doesn't have a father and mother because they're dead. So why does it say that they died? So, Rav Acha tells you, it's coming to tell you that she never had a father and mother. If it had said that that when her father and mother died, Mordechai took her, I would have thought that at some point she had a father and a mother, but they died. But it says that she didn't have. It's adding she never had. How so? Ivrisa Mesavia, when her mother became pregnant, conceived her. During that time, her father died. So during her mother's pregnancy, Yolata Mesaima, and in birth, when she gave birth, her mother died in childbirth. So she never had a father or a mother. When her father and mother died, Mordechai took her as a daughter. Tana, Mishum Rabbi Meir, it was taught in the name of Rabbi Meir, Al Tikre Livas Ella Libayas. Don't read it as Libas, rather as Libayas, which Megillah means as a house, but means as a wife. And so it says, and it quotes another place that kind of proves that the expression Livas does mean or can mean Libayas, as a house, as a wife, because when after King David HaMelech arranges for Uriah to die in battle, so he can marry Bathsheba, so the Navi, Nasar HaNavi, comes to him and he gives him this whole parable, and he basically makes David admit to what he had done wrong. And the parable, part of it is as follows. Vilarash Enko, there was a poor man, he had nothing, Ki'im Kivsa Achas Kitana, except for one small sheep, Asher Kana, that he had bought, V'yichaya V'yichayeha, and he gave it life, sort of, he supported it, Vatigdal Imo, and he raised it with him, Bimbanavim, with his children, Yachtav, together, Mipito Tochal, it ate from his bread, Mikoso Tishta, and from his cup it would drink, Uvecheko Tishkav, and it would sleep in his bosom, Batilo Kibasing, it was like a daughter to him. So, it's talking about a sheep, but it's a mashal for Bathsheba and Uriah, their relationship, that this was all Uriah had. Nasar HaNavi is saying, David, you have so much, you're the rich man. Uriah is poor, he just has this one wife, and he takes care of her, and you took her from him. So, but it says that Uvecheko Tishkav, it sleeps in his bosom, the sheep, but meaning Bathsheba, Batilo Labasin, to daughter to him. Mishum de Becheko Tishkav Havas Le Libas? Ask the Gemara, because it sleeps in his bosom, it's his daughter? What? One's daughter doesn't sleep in his bosom. One's wife does. Elo lebayis. So lebas there must mean lebayis, as a house. So it actually says kibas, it says like a daughter, and it should be like a house, like a wife. That's what that pasuk actually says there, kibas, it was like a daughter. So the Gemara is saying, does it, because it slept in his bosom, it was like a daughter? No, it was like a wife. So you see that there bas means bias. So too over here, hachanami lebayis. So too over here, it means lebayis as a wife. That Mordechai took Esther as a wife. I think you'll say, so why doesn't it say it? Why does it say it in kind of a hidden way? Perhaps because the authors of the Megillah didn't want to reveal to the Persians that actually she was married to Mordechai. That would have been quite detrimental to their situation. So they wrote it in such a way that it seemed to say that she was his daughter, or that he took her as a daughter, when really it meant he took her as a wife. Okay, the Eis Sheva HaNeoros. So it says that now it's talking about Esther, and it says after Esther was brought to the palace and she was being cared for, prepared to meet Achashverosh by Haggai. Haggai was one of the stewards, one of the servants who was in charge of getting the girls ready. So it says that she was very good in his eyes. Esther was good in his eyes, and he would do all sorts of things for her. Ve'esh sheva hane'aros, and for her 7 maidens. So the Gemara says, why did she have 7 maidens? Amarava shahaisamone bohen yemei Shabbos. She requested maybe 7 maidens. That way she could keep track of when Shabbos. She could keep track of the days of the week, so she would know when Shabbos is. Because I guess in the girls' chambers preparing to see Achashverosh over a lengthy period of time, you could lose track of days. And the Persians weren't keeping track of when Shabbos was. So she had 7 maidens. Each one, they switched off days, and that way, whenever the 7th one would come, she would know it's Shabbos. Okay, it says that he treated her differently, and her maidens. So in what way did he treat her differently? Amarav shechila machal Yehudi. Rav says he brought her kosher food, Jewish food. So you might say, well then, doesn't that mean that he knew where she came from? So I think the answer is, they knew that she came from the house of Mordechai. They just didn't know that she was Jewish. They thought Mordechai was raising an orphan. So they brought her the foods that she was used to. Ushmuel amar shachila kadli chaziri. Shmuel says, no, you know how he treated her differently? He gave her the best pork. He gave her the best pork chops. Now, did she eat it or did she not eat it? So actually, to machlokas, is the debate between Rashi and Tosfos. Tosfos says, "B'chas v'shalom hi lo haisa ochelos." Certainly she didn't eat it. Rashi says she ate it because she had no choice. She was starving, and it was onus. And when you're doing onus, when you have no choice, then you could eat non-kosher. Or she wasn't punished because she was onus. Rabbi Yochanan says zaronim, that she had either some, I think it's translated this as seeds. There's a minhag that some eat seeds on Purim. Some others say vegetables, planted things. V'cheinu omer, and we find the same thing by Daniel. It says vayia meltzar noses pas bagam v'nosim lem zaronim. So the steward there, when Daniel was serving in the palace of Belshazzar, I think it's Belshazzar's days then. I think he took away the bread and the wine. It says, and he gave them zaronim. He gave them zaronim. So they too, those who were serving, the Jews who were serving in the house, in the palace of the Babylonian kings, they also ate vegetables or seeds, whatever it might be. And then actually it says there that Rashi quotes that they looked healthy. The pasuk says they from this, so it was a okay thing to eat. I guess a vegetarian diet. Okay. Then it describes in the Megillah how long Esther, or the sort of the Esther situation in preparing to meet Achashverosh. It says Shisha chadashim b'shemer hamor. She would spend 6 months in the place of shemer hamor, of the myrrh oil, and 6 months by the perfumes. It says. So my shemer hamor. Ask the Gemara, what's this shemer hamor, this myrrh oil? Reb Chia bar Abba Amar Satachas. Reb Chia bar Abba says it is satachas. You'll ask, what is satachas? It's some kind of spiced oil. Rav Huna Amar shemen zayish lohevi shlish. That it's olive oil from olives that were very they didn't even grow 1/3, so they were very raw. And I don't know, maybe that produces a specific good smelling olive oil. Probably not good to eat, but maybe good for perfumes. Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda Omer, we're learning a brayso. Rabbi Yehuda says, anapkinon shemen zayish levi shlish. There's something called anpakinon, and that is this. That is olive oil that is not from olives that have not grown 1/3. The lama sachino. So why would you put this oil on? Shemesir es haseir u'ma'ading es habasar. So it says it's actually not for the smell. It's because it removes hair and it makes the skin delicate and beautiful. So it's skincare. That's what it was for. Okay. Then it describes what in the Megillah what will happen to each of these girls that was there. It says ba'erev hiva u'vaboker hishava. In the evening she would be brought to Achashverosh, and in the morning she would return. So he would have relations and sort of try out each of these virgins. So Amar Rabbi Yochanan says, Mignuso shaloso rasha v'mano shvacho. That within the gnus, the terrible character description of this rasha, this wicked person, we see a shvach, we see a praise of him. That there was something within this just disgusting way of living and of treating these girls, there was something positive, which was that he didn't have marital relations or intercourse with them during the day, only at night. That's something to at least one positive trait. Okay, Vati Esther no seis chen. It says that Esther found favor in the eyes of all who saw her. Amar Rebbe Lazar said, Melamed, this teaches that to everyone she looked like their nation. Everybody thought that she was one of them, and that's possibly how she was able to keep it a secret where she was really from, because everybody just assumed when they saw her that she was from their nation. And Esther was brought to the king Achashverosh, to his palace, in the 10th month, which is the month of Teves. Says the Gemara, this is the winter. This is now, we're in the month of Teves. So it's Yerach Shenene Guf Min Aguf. This is a month where people are cold, and the body gets pleasure from the body heat of another body. In other words, as Rashi says, this was part of Hashem's guiding hand, God's engineering that she should be picked as queen, is that her chance to be brought to the palace was when it was cold, when Achashverosh would get a special pleasure from being with her. And it says that he loved her more than all the other women, and she found favor in his eyes more than any of the virgins. So it says he loved her more than the women, and she found favor more than the virgins. Who are the women? Who are the virgins? So Amar Rav says that this teaches you that sometimes he was interested in non-virgins, and sometimes he was interested in virgins. If he wanted to taste the taste of a virgin, then he was able to taste that. That's what he requested. Tam be'ula tam. if he wanted the taste of a non-virgin, then he was able to taste that. But when he came to Esther, Esther was better than all of those. Okay, so he takes her as a queen, and it says, the king made a great feast. It says, Eis Mishtei Esther, the feast of Esther. So the Gemara tells us, it's based on the context of the psukim there, that, meaning the simple reading is he made a wedding, he made a celebration of her becoming queen, but based on the context, it says there, the pasuk says, and he made a feast for all of his officers and servants, the feast of Esther. He made like a discount on the taxes, and he gave out gifts. And then it says, the very next pasuk, he gathered virgins a second time. Mordechai was singing in the gate of the king. So, like, what does that have to do with anything? Why is he gathering virgins a second time? Like, what's going on? So the Gemara interprets it as follows: that all of this was an attempt by Achashverosh to find out Esther's where she came from, because she wouldn't tell him. First, he made a great feast for her. He made a feast for her, and she still wouldn't tell him. He thought that would, appease her, and she would tell him. Nope, didn't work. He lowered the taxes, and he said it's because of Esther, and he thought that would appease her, but it didn't. Shadar Pardishni v'lo Galilei. He sent gifts to different officers in her name, and still that wasn't she didn't reveal where she came from. Then he gathered virgins again. Why? He went and took counsel from Mordechai, who was one of his advisors, it seems. Or maybe he knew that there's a connection between Mordechai and her, and that she was raised in Mordechai's house. So she went to Mordechai and said, what's her story? Where's she from? Mordechai said, I don't know, I just took her as an orphan. So Achashverosh said, how do I find out? So Mordechai gave him the following advice. Amar in isha miskana ela b'yerech haverta. You have to make her jealous. Make her jealous of her friend. And so Achashverosh gathered virgins again. And still she would not reveal it. That the very next pasuk, says that she would not reveal her nation as Mordechai commanded her, which is, I think, what prompts the Gemara to understand that the two preceding verses are all about trying to get her to reveal. It says he made a party for her, he lowered taxes, and he gave gifts, and he gathered virgins, and she wouldn't tell where she was from, implying that all of that was in order to get it out of her, and still she would not reveal it. One can ask, why doesn't he just force her to tell him? So it could be that he remembers what happened with Vashti. He doesn't want a repeat of what happened with Vashti, where, he demanded something, she refused, he ended up having to kill her. He was maybe wary of creating such a similar situation, perhaps. Okay, we'll continue from the bottom of Yud Gimel Aleph next time.